Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial. In this tutorial we are going to look at how to animate a fan. In the process we are going to learn how to create a looping animation, and we will also go over how to model a simple object like this, how to create the rig for the animation, how to create the basic animation, and then how to loop the animation. So there are two loops. One loop is where the fan is going round and round, and the other loop is where the fan is oscillating from left to right and right to left. So let's see how to get this done. What I did was I looked for an image for inspiration for the object. Alright, so I wanted to create a cartoony looking fan. So in the web browser, look for cartoon fan images, and I use this one to create this object. So to get started, what you need is a plane. Okay, hit the M key for material editor, and then I created a standard material. Okay, right click on the material, assign material to selection, drag the diffuse, release it, and then general, we are going to add a bitmap. This is the fan that I downloaded from the internet, and then you go to show shaded material. All right, so we got the fan, and if you scale this image, the object will change size. When you create the plane, it lies onto this axis, so you have to move it back, because when we create something it will be on this, so it will be easier to create. Okay, so I'll make this viewport big. You can hide the grid by hitting the G key. Now we will focus on this one fan. Okay, so we are going to use the line tool, and the fan will be extended beyond this. So I'll click somewhere here to get started, and then you click and drag here. Okay, then at each point you click and drag, each bend you click and drag, you click, and then you click on the first point, and it will ask, do you want to close it, and you say yes. So you got the basic shape. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly similar to what is there, but if you want, because this is just a reference, so yours can be a little different. Don't spend too much time trying to get the same shape. As long as you have something similar, it's good enough. Okay, so that should be good enough for me. I'm happy with this. Okay, so if you go to the perspective view, I'm in the camera view. You go to perspective view. All right, I'll select this and hide it so it's not distracting. So this is your fan blade. What I'm going to do is add an extrude modifier. Okay, and here, yeah, there's amount and there's segment, so it has to have some decent thickness, and added one segment to it. And the reason I added a segment is so that I can, if you look at my fan here, it has this sharp edge Okay, you can see it in the top view. Okay, so it has the sharp edge. Now it is blunt. So to create that, we will add an edit poly modifier. Okay, and then we'll select the polygon, this one. We'll go back, control select the other one. Okay, so both the polygons are selected. We will simply scale it inside. Okay, and then you can move it to align it. Okay, before doing that, what you can also do is, if I undo it, because it was scaling from here. Okay, so I'll put it here. So you can see that the pivot point is here, it is not in the center here. So what you can do is go to hierarchy and then say affect pivot only, and you can move the pivot in the center. Okay, this way when you scale, it will scale from that point. Okay, so if the pivot was here, and if you scaled it, it would scale from there. Okay, so we don't know exactly where the center is, but you can simply eyeball it. Then you go to modify panel, select the perspective view, this one, control this one, scale it, but when I select the sub object, the main is here, but the sub object goes there again. Alright, so I figured out how to scale this polygon from the center, like we did it. If you select the, if you look at the pivot point, it is here, but if you go to polygon, the pivot point moves from the center to the corner. So if you go to hierarchy tab, you have to go to use working pivot, and if you go to edit working pivot, your pivot will be somewhere, so you have to move it to where you want it, and then you click on use working pivot. And then what will happen is, when you select the polygon, voila, now the pivot is where you want it. All you have to do is then scale it inside to get your fan. Okay, so you got one blade. Now again, what you need to do is, okay, so I'll place it in place. This was here. We'll turn this off. So we got rid of the working pivot. Okay, so when you're in sub object, you can turn it on if you want to do editing that way. Now we need to create the cylinder for the frame, and why I'm doing that before I'm creating, before I create the other two blades, is because again I will have to move this pivot point in the center, and then I'm going to rotate it, shift rotate it, so I can copy the rotation to create the other two blades, but I need to know where the center is. So I'm going to create a cylinder, okay, which is the approximate size of our fan. So we're going to eyeball it again, the center of that fan object. We can then increase the radius slightly to match it. Okay, so we get the center. Now what we need to do is move it back so that we can see our fan. So now what we want is the pivot point of the fan has to be in the center. So again, we'll go to hierarchy, affect pivot only, and you have to drag it in the center, and then I'm just going to eyeball it in the center. Okay, so now you can see that when you rotate it, it's going to rotate from the middle. Now once that is done, I can move this out for a second, and we are going to rotate this using the shift key. So I'll open the rotate window as well. We need it, copy. It's not showing the numbers because it is set to local, so we'll go to world, and now you can see those numbers. So it seems like we need it minus -45 and 75. Okay, so I'll rotate it here, release it, copy it, and then type -45, and then I'll do one more, and then this is going to be 75. Okay, now what we need is that all these objects have to be 1. So all these 3 blades will be attached. Okay, and then they will rotate like this. Okay, so our fan is done. Now we will work on the frame. So this is our frame. Look at the perspective view. Okay, so again, if you look at the cylinder, I use 12 sides because I don't want too many lines. See, there are 12 sides, so you don't want too many lines coming in. I use lattice here, so even the lattice radius can be little less, so it's not so distracting. So again, we will put the cylinder in the center here. We will edit poly it. Okay, and then we will select one edge, control select the last edge, and then we are going to loop it, and we are going to, in the front view, we are going to scale it. Okay, and then we are going to add lattice. Modifier, we are going to use joint struts only, and this will be 0.2 for the thickness. So it is a mesh, but not a very prominent mesh. So okay, then we will add a sphere in the middle. Again, this from here to the size of the sphere. Okay, and then we will model this object real quick. We need a box and some height. Move it down. Okay, move it on the side. Copy it as a reference. Why we make it as a reference is because when we will add a mesh smooth modifier with iterations of 2. Okay, so it becomes smooth. And then now we are going to add an edit poly modifier to this one, and we are going to sculpt this one out. So first thing is, and then we will look at what happens here, right? Okay, so it's going to scale out. It's kind of it's local, that's why it was not scaling correctly. So we will scale it thin. Alright, and then the middle one will scale out. Okay, so you get the base. Now we need nice flat base. This base is not flat. Alright, so to make the base flat, we'll go to the edge, select one edge, and then we will ring it. So all the edges are selected, and then we will connect and move it down. Okay, so that will give you a flat base for the fan. Now the next step is to create the middle part. So we will select that one, and then we are going to extrude it. Okay, we will extrude it once, and then we will add the extrusion, so we get another one, and then we need one more for the head, and we'll accept it. Okay, so you can see that you got that. Now this needs to be squarish, so we will select all these polygons, and as you can see that I'm working in perspective. Sometimes I'm working in the front view, top view, so you need to use all these different views to speed up your work process, and this will come by practice. So initially maybe you will be spending more time working in the one viewport, but as you practice more, you will be able to then find ways to speed your work process. So I'll select this one and then scale it inside to give it a and then you have to look at all the viewports, so make sure that whatever you're scaling is happening in all the axes and things like that. The top part has to be squarish. That is where the connection is going to come from for the other part. Now what I will do is, I think it is just better to try, we need like a connection between this and this. And then the connection has to be in such a way that it should be rotatable, so we should be able to rotate it. So here you can see what I did was, I have two objects, Okay, and then I created that hosing system there, which took me some time to do, so I'm thinking of any faster way to do things. Okay, so this is what I'll do. We need something to rotate here, so we will simply work on the top view and polygon, select. See, there's another way to extrude. You can hit the shift key and scale it inside, so you get that inset. Oops, it's not the right way to do it, so you can delete it, delete that face, and you can select the border, then shift enter to make a face, and then shift move inside to make another face, and that will give that hosing here. Okay, and then you can simply put a sphere inside there. Okay, and then you can then of course align that sphere, and then you can align both of these, and then just connect it here. So that should be good enough. It's not, you can see that, and then it can rotate along the sphere here. Okay, so that is an easier way to, but you need the sphere to sit nicely in there. It should look like the sphere is inside there. Okay, you need to see that nice edge. You can move down. Like this. I will get rid of this, get rid of this. This is kind of, and go to vertex here and then squish the whole thing down. Okay, and then if you think it's too big, you can squish it like this also. So that completes our basic model. You can add the colors. I'll give a red color to this, and then maybe another color, so that those things stand out from the main object. The fan can be maybe yellow. I don't like that yellow color. Maybe pink or something. Alright. So that completes our model, and then we will now move on to creating the rig.